It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast. On this, what is today? Good heavens, it's the 18th day of July already? Is that correct? Yeah, 18th day of July. Coming to you from Bedford County, Virginia, right outside of Lynchburg. Today's show is brought to you by Will U.S., the owner of Scoot Around, and by Chillie's Cruises. Of course, we have a special guest this morning, which I'll have shortly. I have not checked it. He just popped in just now as we went on the air. I'll get to him in a second. We'll see if he's set up right for us. I'm pretty sure he is. But anyway, the stories we have today, the lead story, of course, is our guest. Also, this morning, we're going to talk about larger ships deployed in New Orleans. Vanuatu reopens after the earthquake damage. Terminal reductions in Barcelona. The CDC investigates outbreak on Navigator. And a ship accused of damaging coral reef, and lots more here at 11 o'clock this morning. Today, folks, it's National Caviar Day. Not my favorite. I'll eat it, but I'd rather eat a lot of other things. And this day in history, in 1976, judges at the Montreal Olympics awarded Romanian gymnast Nadia Comaneci the first perfect 10 in Olympic gymnast history. The 10 came during the team compulsory competition and a routine on the uneven bars. If you're one of my podcast folks, you can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcasts from. The blog has become pretty popular, folks. We're getting several hundred people a day now are visiting the blog site, which is great. All right. Also, still apologize. Excuse me. My voice is not back to normal. And I'm still coughing. I was with the doctor yesterday. And we've decided to say a reaction to the treatments in my throat, which is what I thought it was, because I'm not sick. But it is really, really scratchy. One thing to get to before we go to our guest. Hot Air Tom, this is a breaking news item. Hot Air Tom made a valiant effort to become Michael Jordan's basketball. Yesterday, he claims that his foot slipped and he bounced down on his butt on the top step and then proceeded to bounce down the steps, much like Michael Jordan dribbling the basketball. This morning, his butt looks a bit like Michael Jordan, but that's neither here nor there. I could hear Cindy all the way over here in Lynchburg screaming, "I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him." But that's neither here nor there. All right. We've talked numerous times with my buddy Nate. Nate, of course, has been on the Crown Princess. He's been on the Crown Princess now for, 45 days or 40 days? I don't know, long time. And that is coming to an end. So, with no further ado, here's Nate Vallier of Alaska Travel. That place where he and I work.
Yeah, exactly.
Nate, welcome back to the Travel and Cruise Podcast.
Thanks.
All right, so you have shared with me over the course of the last 6 weeks or 8 weeks, however long it's been, some negative things that you have kept pretty much to yourself.
Yeah.
You mentioned this morning that you were ready to share a few things publicly.
Yeah.
So tell us what's been going on in your world.
Well, one thing is the travel advisors and cruisers is it's important to learn and know about the product that you are, number one, selling but getting into. And the world cruise has a lot of appeal. The idea of being on one ship and hitting just all these ports and all these countries you normally wouldn't visit. It really fascinated me. So when I had the opportunity come up at last minute from friends at Princess, because my housing in Juneau's in limbo, I'm like, okay, great. 60-day cruise, Auckland to Dover, sure, I can handle that. But I didn't do enough research to realize it's winter time in New Zealand and Australia, which is pretty much the same thing you get in Alaska and April and October. As I've reiterated to your viewers and your travelers that it's not a good time to be in Alaska. I mean, the weather just isn't.
Hey, Nate, we lost your audio. Hold on. No. Let's see. Let's take you off, pull you back on. All right, try it again. No. Your mic. It shorted out, Nate. It just clicked and went off. Can't hear you at all. Can anybody in the chat room, can y'all hear Nate and I can't? I suppose that's a possibility. Nobody's saying anything. Can anybody hear anything? No, can't hear Nate. No. Okay, so Nate left and he's going to come back again. That would be my next suggestion. So let's see if we get Nate back so where we can hear him. Joanne's, thank you, Joanne. Gary says no, Nate. So everybody's, yeah, nobody can hear Nate. And neither can I now. He went off completely. So I assume he's going to try to come back on. He might be switching to something else too. Well, let's see here. While we're doing this and waiting for Nate, let me see if he sent me a message. Well, I got to check that over here to see if he sent a message back. Nope. Okay. So, all right. So we're going to wait for Nate. It's trying again. Okay. That's what I wanted you to do. So, folks, sorry about the slight little delay there. And this, things can happen screwy when you're dealing with something live, and Nate's over there. I'm not even sure where Nate is right now. I think he might have sent me a message on that as well. But I tell you what we're going to do instead of just sitting here treading water. Let's take a quick break from one of our fun network sponsors while we're waiting for Nate to get back. All right, so I'm back. And there's Nate's back here. Add to stage.
Let's try that.
I've
Can you hear
got.
me?
Yes, there we go. Now I can hear you.
Right. Yeah. Woohoo.
Okay. All right. So go back where you were, Nate. It started off and then it just lost.
Yeah. So I should have done more research and realized that it's going to be wintertime in the Southern Hemisphere, and it's a little bit rough to the point that even Princess has the dates for next year's cruise 3 weeks earlier. But we had a really rough time from Auckland to Sydney.
We were even on cruise high for the fact that the ship had a solid 8-degree list for about 6 or 7 hours. There's a lot of damage on board. The gift shop had a bunch of stuff all over, and it was not comfortable. My cabin was all the way forward. I was in what they call Zone 1, which is almost in front of the bridge. And what was happening is beneath my cabin was this noise, and it's this horrible metallic noise of something banging every time we'd hit a swell. Now, mind you, these are constant, not like Dixon Inlet, or Charlotte Sound swells where it's like this nice easy. This is every 30 seconds we're hitting these huge waves, and the water comes up into the well of the anchor. And between the anchor breaks, the chain, and the anchor itself, it hits the ship. Well, that's right below my cabin, so I'm getting no sleep. When we get to Sydney, I'm just exhausted. I know we're talking to you and my other agents and said, hey guys, let's do this big push, talk about world cruises for Americans because there just aren't that many on board. I was exhausted. I was dead. And Sydney was okay. And Sydney to Adelaide, same thing. We were getting our asses kicked. It was just a lot of rocking, a lot of waves. And mind you, this all had to do with the location of my cabin. There's nothing Princess can do about it. This is not normal. So when you book a cruise, whether it's to the Caribbean or Europe Mediterranean, you might get a couple hours of rough seas, but we're now on, I think by the time we got to Adelaide, we're like at day 9. I was getting no sleep at all. I was getting cranky. Adelaide, we ended up staying the night again, because of the bad weather. So that pushed back our Perth trip. Now, Perth, I don't know if I wish I had my pictures loaded, but I was set on going to Rottnest Island, which is where these cute little animals called quokkas are located. These are the little critters that smile, and they're like a rat and a kangaroo. They're like this big.
Yeah.
And so they moved our time in Perth instead of a full day of 8 a.m. to like 6 o'clock to arriving at 4 p.m., which too late to do anything, and leaving at noon the next day. So living in a cruise ship port, knowing how things go, I found a ferry that will still get me back and forth in time, knowing our all aboard is at 12. If it's 12, it's 11:30. So I get an email from the ferry system in the morning that all aboard's at 11. I'm like, well, no, it's not. It's 11:30. It's always half an hour before. And so out of precaution and out of me trying to be a nice guy, I went to guest services and said, look, I'm now experiencing cabin fever. And this goes back to knowing your body when you book these cruises. Can you handle, like I'm in an interior cabin, and even though that works good for my sleep because I'm a vampire, when I get a balcony cabin that when I push the curtains completely tight, I still get that one ray of light that lands right on my face, and it wakes me up in the morning. So I was okay with an interior cabin. My sleep was getting a little bit better and everything. And so I tried to be a good person and went to guest services and said, look, I'm experiencing cabin fever. I need off the boat. I'm going to Rottnest Island, and if I make it back, I make it back. I've got my passport with me. I'll meet up with the guys in Mauritius. I have flight benefits. This is okay. Well, that flipped them out, which is weird because ships leave people behind all the time in June. It's a normal occurrence. People get drunk at the bar. It's not from missing an excursion, mind you. It's from people being drunk. And so I figured this wasn't a big deal, but apparently it was a big deal on the ship. I met the administration officer. They had me clear. Sorry, I'm in the bar. They had me clear customs. Yeah, they heard me clear customs in advance. And I even talked to customs. I said, guys, I'm sorry. I don't know what the problem is. I'm used to this. I mean, if people miss ships, it's like a sport for some. But I made it. When I was in line at the terminal, I took a slightly earlier ferry back at 10:30 instead of the one that gets in at 11. Made it to the ship in time. Massive line. I mean, 400 or 500 people in line at Perth. I mean, the Perth terminal is not very. It's probably one of the worst I've ever been to be honest. The lines were notorious, and I know we've seen other bloggers highlight stuff in Lisbon and other places, and even Port Canaveral. This is nothing. I just, and this is why I've been really quiet after what happened to, I think it was David and Jay with Sail Away. I don't want to criticize Princess because I'll get banned. And that's been my whole fear the whole time is I don't want to say anything negative because maybe this is a one-off. Maybe, I don't want to be too much of a nitpicker. Because overall, I'm having a good time. I brought 6 books, and even today, I've only read 1. There's a lot to do on these things. But what's happening is, and why we're talking is, when you go on a cruise, you expect there to be a couple of glitches. And I don't think I've been on a cruise, or any of your guests or any of your listeners. How many of you have actually been on a cruise where everything went smoothly, that went perfect, that had no issues at all? Well, on the World Cruise, I've been on for now 43 days, I think. It adds up. And so get on a ship, I get no less than 5 phone calls from people, from Princess, from guest services, even customs, making sure I'm on board. I said, yes, I don't know what the big deal is. They eventually moved me to deck 5 from deck 8, and now I'm midship. And this cabin seemed okay, but when the cabin steward, I asked him, hey, why is this cabin available? I was told there's nothing after Auckland. He said, oh, they moved due to noise. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe it's the same noise I had. And, in case Princess is watching this or other people, what's funny about my cabin on the E deck, Emerald deck, all the way forward, even my cabin stew moved. He couldn't handle it. He was even having issues doing his job because we were just moving so much, so often. And I don't know if he's getting sick, but even he moved. That's just how bad it is. Things are really horrible when your stew even says, hey, I got to be on a different deck. So I found out very quickly why my cabin was open. And Crown is an older ship. I will state that after seeing pictures of Island Princess and Caribbean and their age, I was expecting this to be in horrible condition. It's not. The Crown's in remarkably good shape, especially for a ship that's going into dry dock in a couple of months. I was expecting there just to be a shit show, nothing working. That's not the case. Princess has done a great job, and I commend the crew for that. But what's happening is right above my bed, in between the walls. So the walls on a cruise ship aren't necessarily thick. A lot of the cruise cabins are made of shells, and they're inserted into place. And then you have walkways and crawl spaces between the cabins. Well, my cabin had a very loud metallic bang every time we hit a wave. So it wasn't the same sound as the anchor. I mean, you could still hear that a little bit. It wasn't as bad, but this time it was like a safe door being slammed in, like the big bank safe. So again, I had white noise to try to cover up the sound. Wasn't getting any sleep again. And so I'd asked, almost all the way to Mauritius, I asked guest services, this is, guys, look, I think I need to throw in the towel. I'm just not having a good time. We now have 7 sea days between Perth and Mauritius, and it's just getting bad. And, I know you can't move me. I know I'm here as a guest of Princess, so I don't really have any clout to say move me or else. I didn't want to go do anything negative because I like Princess. I like Reef. I think they're a good line. And so what's funny is right when I had found flights, I determined I was going to stay in Cape Town for a little bit. And then, of course, the whole Iran crap happened. So I was going to fly through Abu Dhabi. That kind of threw a big wrench in my plans to try to get home, because Israel and Iran started having their little spat. And what's funny is right as I was getting ready to meet with Selma, the administration officer, to actually go ahead and process to get off in Cape Town, they found a cabin for me. And funny how that works. Apparently the guy died. I know that sounds horrible, but we hear that a lot in Alaska from the cruise tours and stuff, is people book these years in advance, and if they don't board, you got to hold their cabin, especially on a world cruise, in case they come later, which I think is a great benefit. Just like if you miss your cruise out of Seattle or Miami, you can pick it up later on. So apparently this guy had passed away, and I feel horrible, or the family, something happened. So they moved me to deck 15, and guess what? It's been great. The second day I was in the cabin, I did notice my carpet was a little bit wet. So I normally drink, I've got my blue Alaska Princess water bottle, and I thought maybe I spilled it. So then the next day I noticed I left my shirt on the floor in the bed, and it was soaked. I'm like, okay, well, this isn't me. So I mentioned it to guest services. I said, look, I'm not moving. I don't want to move. I'm tired of moving, but my carpet is soaked. Can we do something to fix it? And then we got to Namibia. So if you want, this time, so we're now at July 1st. And I read the paperwork and I watched the wake show. Jody is an amazing cruise director. And so Jody would give us warnings about stuff. Like she said in Cape Town, hey, if you get back on a ship after 2, you can't leave because you have to clear customs. So Namibia, what I thought was odd was so Simon, the hotel manager, he does this amazing thing where you get a 1 or 2 page flyer for the next port, which gives you information about the port, what time we're going to get in, what time you expect to get off, and the procedures and all, because I know every port's a little bit different. So for Namibia, they said they would do clearance in Club Fusion on deck 7, which is the rear nightclub. And I thought, okay, that's kind of odd. I went down at 9 o'clock and saw that the line is huge. I'm like, all right, well, let me go get some work done. I'll come back later. Come back at 11:45 and it's closed. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Well, maybe we clear on shore like you do at every other cruise ship port. So I tried to get off the boat, got declined, said to go to guest services. I go to guest services and they said, oh, customs is closed. You can't get off the ship now. I'm like, what do you mean I can't get off? I'm never going to come to Namibia again. What do you mean I can't get off the ship? Well, we made all these announcements. Well, no, not really. You can't hear these announcements in your cabin. We can with the captain and a cruise director. Their voice carries. But the guy who's making the announcements, he sounded like Kenny from South Park. You can barely hear anything. He said they made a final announcement that you have to clear customs by 11:30. Well, I never heard it. I was in my cabin working. So, of course, I went off on them. I'm like, hey, nice kick in the chin on this one. I think that's on a message. I put on Instagram, oh, sure be great to visit this country. But I can't get off now because even though we're here till 5 o'clock, I can't get off the ship because there's no. Again, that would have been great to have in a port letter, or even have the wake show say in the morning, hey, if you want to get off the ship, you have to be off by 11:30. I think that is just, it should have been on that form and on there, or they should have did an all cabin announcement. They've done all cabin announcements for stuff way less than this, and the fact that it was at 11, no one's asleep. So I kind of took it in the chin there. So then because we were backed up, we missed, or they told us we're going to miss Mindelo and Gran Canaria, which Cabo Verde and Gran Canaria, Canary Islands are not really at the top of the cruise list. It's just their destinations are okay, but there's just not a whole lot there. Instead, we're going to Tenerife, which I liked. I'm like, okay. Tenerife has some history with the airline industry. Right. I know the island is big. There's a lot of stuff to do there. So I went to Tenerife instead. I visited the crash memorial from the KLM and Pan Am planes where they crashed. Deadliest crash in history. And really, to kind of talk about the cruise, that was the most emotional part because in the airline industry, that crash really changed a lot. And to hear what happened. So while I was up there, and I wish I had video, the weather was nice, but the clouds started moving in over the airport, which is what happened in this case is when all these planes diverted from Gran Canaria to Tenerife North, which is the airport now. It was called Los Robles, but they had to change the name because of the crash. Same airport, same everything, but just to see those clouds come in really kind of hit hard because you can actually see how this crash disaster happened. And then to find out it didn't have to happen, it just really kind of messed me up. So kind of, I guess I need to stop there. So I need to reverse back to Cape Town because this is where I foresaw a problem happening. So because I'm a travel agent for the most part, and I'm an airline employee, I cycle my money, I budget it. When I got checked on board on Auckland, I verified, am I going to get charged at the end of the cruise or do you do charges in between? I said actual charges, not authorizations, but charges. I know that Princess, like MSC and Norwegian, they will ding your card every day for an authorization, but they don't actually charge you till the end. So they said, oh no, we charge you at the end. I'm like, okay, 60-day cruise. I budgeted right about $3,500 for me to spend on the cruise between Wi-Fi, spa, which is amazing, by the way. I found out right before Cape Town that they were going to settle my account then and there for Cape Town. Well, I'd already juggled and paid forward paid all these bills and everything, knowing that, thinking, pretty much drained my bank account, good and bad. And so I had to come up with a lot of money to pay them on my debit card, because Princess on this cruise, since it's based in Australia, they charge you a credit card fee for using your credit card, but not for a debit card. So I kept the Amex on file, went down to pay with my debit card. There were some difficulties with that because between tapping and inserting, they got it wrong. And then the next day after Cape Town, I noticed a $65 charge and $8 charge. I'm like, what is this? Well, they've started using my debit card, which I knew meant a long hold on those, which is leading me to why I'm getting off tomorrow, which lead me to say, hey, take off my debit card from my account, use the Amex, and then I'll settle again in Barcelona. So I had these two little charges, didn't disrupt anything, but it was still there for 14 days, and I could work around it. So get to Barcelona, same thing, go down, pay my bill, which is $750 essentially US. And I was even double cautious with the person to say, please make sure you only charge my card once, not twice. I'm just very leery about this. Oh, yeah, sir, no problem. It took about 15 minutes and didn't think anything about it. Saw the charge go through, looked at my bank account, got the alert on my phone, because my bank account right now is like this, because we don't get paid till the 20th, as travel agents for a lot of our stuff, 20th and 21st. And I have a lot of funds sitting back in Alaska in my P.O. box. So it's, again, I had to juggle funds. I'm, not necessarily sitting on a whole lot of money. Didn't really think about it. So the next day we go to Palma de Mallorca. It's hot. It's nice, beautiful. Take a taxi to west part of the island. Go have lunch. And when I travel, and I highlight this, and I've said it to your audience many times, travel with just one card. Don't bring multiple cards in case you get robbed. This way they can't empty out your bank account. You're not missing everything. That's what I do. I had $20 in cash on me to try to break it, to give, make change for the crew and everything. And to find out that my card was declined at the restaurant, ridiculously embarrassing. I was floored. I'm like, no, there should be money. There's a couple grand in that account. What the hell is going on? And so try to go to an ATM, try to pull out some money, thinking maybe it's just this whole debit credit issue. And of course I got declined. I didn't want to do a balance, because just so you guys know, if you pull a balance from a debit card while you're traveling, it charges you for that. So the bank will charge you $3 to $5. So never, ever, ever get your balance from an ATM machine. So I log in my app and I see my bank account had like all of $40 in it. I'm like, what the? No way. So I look at my pending authorizations, and Princess had 3 authorizations for $730 each. And then my debit had posted already, so it cleared because debit goes through sooner, for $777. So I'm like, holy crap, I have no money. I have a backup credit Capital One card, which I can use to tap. Stupidly, I guess I spent some money on that, so I thought I could use that to pay for dinner. The waiters are now telling me that they're going to have to call the police on me if I don't pay. You guys are all asleep in America at this point. I'm panicking. I'm like, how the crap am I going to get back to the ship? I'm already sorry. Sorry, Rishi's getting ready for what they're doing. How the crap I'm going to pay for this? Well, I was able to get through to the bank, but they said the department that would release the money won't be there for an hour and a half. So I'm like, all right, well, that'll be 2:00 here. I'm supposed to be back on board at 4. So I emailed the hotel director of the ship. Not a very pleasant email, by the way. Kind of letting him know how I feel about this and the fact that we need to talk when I get back. Luckily, the bank would only drop 2 of the 3 authorizations that were duplicates. So I don't know what happened. Someone just pressed enter too many times, but it was manually done by somebody on the ship who didn't see I'd already paid my balance and wiped out my account. I had no way to do Zelle to this account. I had no way to do like an instant wire because nothing's open in America yet. And I hope people can understand that. It's just not like I can freely move money from one account to the other. I didn't bring any other cards with me because, again, I travel enough to know that that's all in my safe. It's also back in Panama with my other stuff. So finally, they released enough that I was able to move money to a separate business account for the bills that we had coming in for tours that we sell and everything. And then got paid with an ATM. Got back to the ship, and I kind of let guest services have it. I finally just let everything out. I says, guys, I've been biting my lip. I'm like, I've now been in this cabin for 3 weeks. It's moldy. It stinks. You now have done this to me, and all you can do is apologize. So I once again said, I now have no money free, technically, because of what happened. Because, again, I have all this money sitting in checks in the mail in Juneau. I literally have no money for anything. I can't go on any tours. I can't go to wine country. I can't go to, like, here in Tangiers. I can't go to the tour I wanted to do because my accountant, Vanessa will kill me if I put it on my Amex, but they're very clear that I can't use, I wish I could have just simply just left it on the Amex and gone. But fact of the matter is, with my budget, I need to make sure I have enough money to get home at the end of the trip. And plan for extra hotels if I need to and everything else. So Princess really couldn't do much of anything. And because the ship is an Australian dollar, the whole world cruise, by the way, and they're now transacting in US dollars. So whatever bank you use, it's going to be a 14-day hold on those funds. So there's no way to release them, even if Princess, and I think they have said, hey, we release these funds. Because they've done an authorization, that authorization is going to hold for 14 days. Whereas in America, like if I charge somebody's card, like right now, if we charge someone for like the Skagway tour or Wings Airways or something in Juneau, and we don't complete the sale, it's just a 3-day hold. Now, if it's a foreign card, it's a 7-day hold because I know that because we tested it. But the other way around, they do a 14-day hold, which means it's now the 29th of July when that gets free. I'm off the ship on the 30th. I'm not liquid. So I literally said, guest services, why am I here? I said, unless you can fix this right now and cancel this, can I just get off in Lisbon? I said, at least from Lisbon, I can fly to Frankfurt and then get to Panama. I'm flying standby. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get off or not. And I made that very clear. I said, what is the process to exit the ship? And it's kind of where it's been. They finally changed out my carpet. They completely ripped out the carpet in my cabin. I bring the carpet. It's beautiful. Not really much of an apology. I still hadn't heard until yesterday an answer on how much money do I get back? Because I've prepaid for Wi-Fi, I've prepaid for all these taxes and port fees that I think I'm due back. Because if I'm not visiting these 8 ports, that's a lot of money out of, I guess we're doing 18 ports in total in this zone. I just want my money back. If I can't complete the journey because of an error that you guys made, at least make it right. So in dealing with my people at Princess, and I've tried to be very, very polite, very calm, without being too irate, like with Norwegian, which whole different story. Norwegian has a full fare passenger on the Encore. I then noticed last night that they'd already changed me to disembark in Lisbon without telling me. So when I approached them this morning, they said, "Oh yeah, we show you getting off in Lisbon." I'm like, "Well, I don't know how I'm getting from Lisbon to Frankfurt. The flights are full. I'm flying standby." So I got in full panic mode, and looks like I'm getting off tomorrow in Cadiz instead. And I was able to find a flight on Condor from a little airport called Jerez, which is north of Cadiz. I can take the bus or a train, it looks like. And then I'll overnight in Frankfurt and then fly back to Panama. From Panama, I've got to drop off some stuff because I'm in the process of moving there and go back to Alaska for a little bit. So, so my takeaway from all this is the longer the cruise, the more chances you are of having hiccups happen, and they tend to snowball very quickly. And the crew on the Crown have been great. Being one of the few Americans on board, and I'll go ahead and say this out loud: the fact that I'm tipping, it's kind of made me a bit of royalty on board. The Australians, it's not in their nature to tip. I've been doing a lot to take care of the crew. I've tried to have a good time. I've not said much about the negativity, mostly the weather. We did circle off the east coast of Africa for 2 days while they figured something out for us. Because weather was so bad, we couldn't cross Cape Horn, the southern tip of South Africa. And again, a lot of that's not really stuff Princess can control. A lot of that has to do with the fact that I booked last minute and there weren't any cabins open, so I'm at the mercy of them. So lesson number 2, make sure you do your research on where your cabin is, because that can make or break the trip. Being up on deck 15 has been amazing. I do my walks every day. I'm a quick hop to the bar, which is kind of my downfall. They keep making me adios, motherfuckers. I don't even have to ask now. I've tipped some of these bartenders so well. And it's not on the drink menu for Princess. It should. I'm not going to be an apologist to Princess. I just think that as an American, this is too much for me. 60 days was, it's been a long cruise. It's been hard to do my work because I don't have Princess Plus. I don't get what's called Medallion Max, which is the really good Wi-Fi. So I'm limited to the basic, and basic, even with you and me making our calls, like when you need help with stuff, it's been damn near impossible to even have a phone conversation. And that's because in a smart way, they throttle the data, but I have no way to increase my speed without paying for it. Some friends I met on board had Premiere, so I even logged in with my other laptop and tested the speed, and it's bonkers. I mean, holy moly. Like, we had really good Wi-Fi, at least for them, the whole journey. It does get pretty slow when people, like around nighttime because they're watching movies, or especially the Australians on Sunday watching the rugby and cricket matches and games and stuff. I mean, it did slow down quite a bit, but for the most part, for me, trying to work has been a bit of a challenge. I appreciate the World Cruise. Don't get me wrong. I just think that knowing this, we can't offer this as just another cruise. You've really got to be ready for this. You need to research and make sure that the seasons are correct. Because I can tell you the first 30 days have been horrible in terms of the weather, with the ship rocking, with the swells and the weather. It has not been fun in that regards. This is not your Carnival Fun Ship cruise where you can go out in the pool every day. On the flip side, the cruise director, Jody, and Alwyn, the assistant crew, well, I guess he's entertainment director. They don't have assistant cruise directors anymore, Princess. They've kept us busy. Like, I brought 6 books, and I only finished one of them. The entertainment's been really good. The TVs, they keep adding different movies and stuff, so you're not watching the same thing over and over again. The food's been good. The wine has been fantastic. I've found a lot of wines that I really enjoy. And to talk about the whole tipping culture, in Alaska, the bartenders would tell me, in our Skagway Travel Wi-Fi shop, that they would make between $300 to $600 in cash a week on top of their current pay, and that's just cash tips. Yeah. And that drives a lot of people. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's more than 3 times their income back home in, Bali or Thailand or even Philippines. So to be on this cruise where the tips aren't really as good, the staff has been fantastic. So I don't know if Princess accounts for that or not. I know people talk about the prepaid gratuities. It's not gratuities anymore. It's called crew appreciation. They don't get it. The only cruise line that actually gets their tips as you think they do is Carnival, and that's because they pay these guys half. But with Princess, they use that money, for appreciation for things in the crew bar, parties, raises when these guys get raises, but it's not a tip in their pocket. So the fact that we have these guys who are here on the ship versus a U.S. cruise or Caribbean cruise, it means a lot to have such a good, stellar staff. But overall, in the end, tomorrow, to be honest, even though I'm going to be missing a couple of ports that I haven't been to, mainly Cork and Glasgow, those where the cruise ports are located, it's not very advantageous to everything. I've already been to Lisbon. I've already been to Bordeaux. So it's not like I'm missing out on anything. I'm trying to stay positive about this. I did find it hard to get from Dover to London City Airport, for my flight to Frankfurt. So that's why a lot of this just happened to work out, to cut the short 10 days early, cut my losses. I'm fortunate because I have the freedom of travel. I work for an airline. I have flight benefits. So I was able to change my standby listings and there's seats open to do that. I know most people don't have that ability. So I'm quite the anomaly. However, it doesn't mean it can't be done. But I think that when you've done a long journey like this and you're just not feeling it, sometimes the best thing to do is to just walk away. And I hate to say that, but I'm glad I've done the world cruise. Would I do this again? No, I don't think so. Portions of it maybe, but it's been like just shy of 50 days when I get off the boat, and Um, yeah, kind of longing for the days of 7-day cruises, to be honest. But yeah, the weather's been great now. The ship is barely moving. You know, we went through the Strait of Gibraltar during daylight, so I got a lot of pictures of that. But yeah, just towards the end, I think that my frustrations just kind of blew up. And you know, I even apologized to guest services many times. I've even brought these guys gifts. I'm like, guys, I'm not mad at you. I'm at the situation, you know, especially Namibia. That one I am kind of peeved about. But hopefully, you know, this helps Princess out too to go, this should have been on, you know, this cruise port flyer or in Jody's, you know, wake show, because had I known about that, I would have been okay. But yeah, but the whole money thing, like I said, that's just, again, had I known from the get-go that I'm going to be paying in each segment, I wouldn't have forward paid all these bills and money wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
But, you know, as we get closer to when the money comes in the floodgates, and in fact, I haven't been home to check my P.O. box where I have, you know, we get commission checks from Enterprise, Marriott, Alaskan Dream Cruises, On Cruise, all this other stuff. You know, I'm not there to put that money in the bank. So I'm like, all right, well, when I get back to Juneau and early August, you know, use that to. So yeah, it's kind of not really my fault entirely. I just wish I would have had more accurate information from Princess. But
yeah,
I would, you know, in the travel agency business, and I mean the real agency business, not this fake Archer Travel Evo, pay $25 a month to become a travel agent. One thing we're taught is to qualify your client, make sure that this is what they want. You know, do you understand, you know, what you're getting involved with the cruise? Do you understand the policies and the procedures? Now that I've been on the road cruise, I know this is a lot different than a regular cruise. And there's a lot of perks to it, but it's also, can you handle being away from home that long? Like, I even had 60 days of my medication with me and everything. I brought so many clothes. I had to bring 3 seasons worth of clothes. Yep. So now even getting home, that's a pain, because I flew over in business class, which I had the allowance on Qantas, and now I have to fly economy to Frankfurt. And I'm not complaining, but I paid twice the amount of my ticket for my second bag than I did for my ticket.
Yeah.
You know, luckily I'm in business class from Frankfurt to Panama, but even then it's only I'm allowed 30 kilos of luggage, but I think I'm closer to 50. So I'm going to beg and plead with them on that one, because the 20 kilos of luggage on Condor is €200, which so
yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but anyway, like I said, the ship's good. I can't complain about the ship. There's a lot of really great staff on board. You know, you really do get to know them, you know, seeing them day in and day out. You know, you see a lot of new faces. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'm here until you want to kick me off.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to get to it because I got to finish up the show.
Okay, good deal.
Nate, let's just say that good luck with the travels.
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
certainly be thinking about you. And
yep.
keep me posted as you're trying to get back in the world.
Yep. And let people know we still got great deals in Alaska for this season. You know, Holland's dropped their prices. We got some good deals on Celebrity. Princess is a little bit tighter, but you know, there's still some great deals if people want to come up to Alaska this summer. So
okay. That sounds good. As always,
thanks,
Nate,
Chillie.
Thanks a lot. And I'll be back with the news, folks, after this quick break.
Experience Alaska at an affordable rate. VR1 balconies are only $1,289, including taxes and port charges. MSC Poesia sells from Seattle, May 25th, 2026. Book now. Call 434-258-9264 or go to bit.ly/Poesia Alaska 1.
All right. It's always good to catch up with Nate. And that was, wow. He's had a go of it with this cruise, folks. And to be able to do it and still keep a good attitude is just amazing. All right, so let's get on with the news. So we're going to start off with Carnival. Carnival Cruise Line is pulling back the curtain on its 2027-2028 deployments, and the first announcement reveals a plan to boost capacity in New Orleans. The cruise line will continue to homeport 2 ships year-round in the Big Easy, but starting in May of 2027, the 3,646-guest Carnival Dream will replace the 2,980-guest Carnival Valor, boosting double occupancy guest capacity by about 700 passengers per sailing. 8 months after a devastating earthquake crippled much of the infrastructure in the South Pacific destination of Vanuatu, local officials are heralding the return of cruise tourism. Carnival Cruise Line's Carnival Adventure will be the first cruise ship with regularly scheduled port calls to visit Vanuatu's Port Vila. Her first call is set for August the 8th as the ship sails a 10-night Vanuatu and New Caledonia voyage round trip from Sydney, Australia. Are you heading to Las Vegas this summer or fall? Book a mobility scooter or wheelchair rental by August 31st and get discounts in advance. You can call Scoot Around at 888-441-7575 or reserve online and explore the Vegas Strip with ease. Las Vegas mobility rentals are 15% off until August 31st. Call Scoot Around 888-441-7575 or contact me at 434-258-9264. As the busiest cruise port in the Mediterranean, Spain's port of Barcelona has been battling issues related to over-tourism and pollution for cruise ship emissions for years. Here are the key changes ahead for Barcelona. The number of cruise terminals at Barcelona's Adawasset Wharf will be cut from 7 to 5. Terminals A, B, and C will be demolished, and a brand new terminal with a capacity of 7,000 guests will open at the location of Terminal C by 2030. Additional measures are being taken to improve sustainability and mobility for cruise passengers within the port. Good change. On July the 16th, the CDC issued an official report of the 18th outbreak to happen on a cruise ship this year. Navigator of the Seas disembarked guests on July the 11th, which is the same day the cruise sent the report of gastrointestinal illness outbreak to the vessel sanitation program. 134 of the 3,914 guests on board the ship, which is 3.4%, experienced symptoms. Only 7 of the 1,266 crew on board, that's 0.6%, had the same symptoms. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, Silversea Cruises' Silver Cloud might be having a bigger negative impact on marine ecosystems than many realize. An experienced diver named Tim Yeo has accused the expedition ship of damaging the coral reef in Alor, Indonesia, with the anchors used by its Zodiacs during her visit on July the 11th. Yeo, who is general manager and COO of Blue Water Travel, scuba dives around the world and was shocked to see the damage he says the Zodiacs caused. The picture shown here is a diver from Silversea's ship removing an anchor that was wedged in the coral. For context, 20 Zodiacs on board the small vessel are used almost daily to access remote and harder to reach locations. Yale alleges that 39 anchors were used across 13 Zodiacs. Each craft used 3 anchors, which meant a total of 39 anchors were dropped, some of which landed directly on the reef. At this time, neither Silversea Cruises nor Royal Caribbean has issued a statement on the matter. Rentals on mobility equipment in Orlando and Kissimmee have been extended throughout the summer. Save on scooters, wheelchairs, powered chairs, and more. These offers are valid for popular locations like Disney World, Universal Studios, and SeaWorld. Orlando mobility rentals are 15% off until August 31st. Call Scootaround toll-free at 888-441-7575. Use SRN 11137 for the best rates. All right, that puts us at an end to the news portion of today's show. Wasn't a whole lot in the world of news. Of course, I kind of feeling that we were going to go rather late with Nate today, so that's okay. All right, guys, so let's jump over real quick in the chat room, see who's giving me a hard time today. Hot Air Tom is with us with a sore butt. Gary Older Than Dirt, Sonny down in Mississippi. There's Katie up there on Martha's Vineyard. Sonny wants to know, Tom, are you okay? Ouch. There's Joanne says, howdy. Hot Air says, just a bit sore and back a bit achy. Bob's with us. Good morning, Bob. And this is where we had problems with hearing Nate. They could hear me, couldn't hear Nate. Good morning, everyone. Jen says, can hear now. There's Mike. Hi, Mike. Mike, I tell you, I've enjoyed yesterday and today watching the Open from over there, the golf tournament, even with the funky weather. It's one of my weekends every year that I enjoy is watching. I'm still old fashioned. I call it the British Open, but the Open. So enjoy that immensely every year. I love when they do some things around England and Scotland and wherever they are. So, of course, they do different courses, not every year, but just about every year. So anyway, I'm enjoying that, Mike, and I'll be watching it tomorrow and Sunday as well. I get up and start watching it in dark 30. Roger's with us down in Jacksonville. Hodder says Crown Princess in Tangier, Morocco. Yes. Gretchen's hit with us out in Ohio. Nate, what a financial and cabin mess. Not very good advertisement for Princess World Cruise. Yeah, and I mean, for Nate to come out and actually say, he's not sure he'd do it again. Nate's kind of like me, there's never a bad cruise, and for him to go that negative publicly, it makes you think twice, Sonny. It really does. Jamin's with us. Hey, Jamin. This was a good reminder to all that using a debit card on a cruise is a problem. You basically need double the funds in the account to deal with the pre-authorizations, even if there are no errors. I know on my Jade 18-day cruise, back-to-back for 36, they told us the first cruise would be closed out due to the pre-authorizations. Sorry about that. That was obviously a coughing spell. Pre-authorizations are only valid for 30 days and would not affect at the end of 36 days. What was weird, what they told us, could not use the same card for the second cruise. Wow, I did not know that, Tom. It was the NCL branded card that gets extra points. I found that very strange. Yes. Me too. But it all had to do with the pre-authorization setup they have with the merchant services. Tom, did you know about credit cards having to use 2 before the cruise? I am too cheap. I would have continued on the cruise to the end in Southampton come hell or high water. It was only announced prior to the first cruise ending when they did a special meeting for the back-to-back passengers. Sonny says, that sucks. What if someone only brought 1 credit card? Or somebody in a situation like me. I have 1 card. That's it. Because I am, even after all these years, I am unable to get another credit card. It doesn't matter that I have, a healthy investment account. Still can't get a credit card, which is wrong. That goes back to the days when the 2 employees stole me blind in my wholesale floral business, but that's a whole nother story. That was the case for some of the group. Lots of unhappy folks. Yeah, I can understand that. I'd be up the creek with 1 card, and that's all I own. So I mean, I get by with all of the pre-authorization business and having enough money in the account to cover it. And I do know that in a matter of a couple hours, I can have money transferred from my investment account over to the checking account if I ever need it. So, but yeah, that can be dicey if you don't have a fistful of credit cards. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. Thanks for being here. As always, folks, appreciate the thumbs up. That helps the show out quite a bit. If you have not subscribed, please consider doing so. It doesn't cost you anything, and that really helps the channel to grow. So I'll be home all weekend, so I'll keep up with what's happening in the cruise world. By the way, in case any of you are wondering, there was absolutely nothing in the weather today in the Atlantic or the Pacific. Nada. So it's the first time I've seen a complete blank for a while. All right, guys, that's going to do me for today. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising. Hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Have a wonderful Friday, a terrific weekend, and I'll see everybody Monday if I don't see you before then. Thanks for being here. See you next time.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry, so if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chilliescruises.